Hey guys, how's it going and welcome back. So we have the Yamaha PSR EW410 for you guys today. I do have a video on the EW400, which is one that I had actually bought for myself and kept for quite a while. And of course, as you guys know, I go through a lot of instruments because, hey, it's hard to make me happy. But eventually one of these days I'll probably settle down. I doubt it, but you know, hey, there may be some hope there on the horizon yet. But in the meantime, I did rent this. And I will be honest up front, I have no intentions of buying this thing, and it has nothing to do with the price. Now it does sell for $600 new, or $599 if you want to get specific at Long McQuaid. Now of course I am Canadian, so there you go with prices. Now this thing has a lot of the same features as the EW400. So you've got your multi-track recorder, you've got one-touch transpose, which you can also access transposing from the function button, among many other functions, like even changing around your order for your octaves. Okay, but you do have one-touch transpose, which is very handy. And if you're not sure about the transposed feature, G chord, right? So we need to play a song in G, which is fine. That's fine, but if your singer, being you, or maybe your singer or singers can't sing in the key of G, and maybe you are chord limited, because I know I am, for the time being anyways, you know, this helps you to play alternate chords with just keeping the same patterns as far as chords that you're comfortable with, right? You know, and so you are playing a little bit more of an advanced chord, but without actually having to do the fingerings for it. Or if you need to change the key. So if you need to change the key of A, if you transpose it up 2, your G chord is now an A. So it's like, cool! So now we have an A chord, right? Now if we go back down 2, and we do the actual A chord, it's exactly the same. So you know that that's actually A, and you're in the key of A. It's just that you're using the same things that you're comfortable with. So, you know, G becomes A, right? D goes from D to D sharp to E. So your D actually becomes an E, right? Now I know how to do an E and an E minor, so that's not a big deal. But what if my singer can't do it at that pitch of that chord in that way? This is where transposing comes in handy, right? So you can go up plus 12 steps and minus 12 steps. Just always keep in mind that your two notes that don't have any sharps in them would be E, because it goes E to F, and then B goes from B to C. There's no B sharp, there's no E sharp. So out of, you know, your alphabet of notes or chords, A, B, C, D, F, G, that's how it works. You do have live controls as well, which take care of things like your DSP processor perimeters, your chorus, your resonance. You've also got retrigger rate, balance, that sort of thing. And you can assign these knobs to different tasks by using this button to do some of the basic functions that way, and you can see where it is on the chart on the display. You've also got keyboard backing control as well. You've got beats, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and okay. Now you can change the tempo of every beat, and there's a lot of different beats. So if you look at your styles, that was Brit rock, and if you go back, we'll go backwards. So you've got 235 different beats in this thing, which is quite a lot to mess with for changing tempos around and everything to suit your song. Now you also have things like fills. You've got 2 different types of fills. You can have it sync start, so as soon as you hit a note or a chord, it'll automatically start the rhythm side of the machine. I find the built-in rhythm patterns in keyboards are very handy for me as a guitar player, you know, because for many years I never had a beat buddy, right? Because, hey, they weren't invented then. but even before I got one, you know, it's like I could use some rhythm to go along with playing this. And, you know, I'm doing a lot of music, my videos, you know, for RC videos or whatever. I want to put music in there. So I do all my own music, right? And it's like, I need a beat though. You know, is there something here that can work with this? And I could even take the same beat and use it in like a gazillion songs because I'm changing tempos, right? And that does really help a lot, right? So, but yeah, so you've got a lot of that. As far as your voices go, you've got 759 different voices. Now this is compiled up of multitudes of instruments to sound effects, etc. Okay, and that's a lot to keep you out of trouble for a while. You've got things like car pass, and of course tone changes with key, right? You got another one here, car crash. Not very realistic, but there are a lot of sounds too, by the way, that are not entirely realistic, but it's kind of a rough idea, right? And they're still usable. Siren. Okay, there's a train. Jet plane. Starship. Burst. That's a weird one. Coaster. Like a roller coaster. Looks like submarine. Laughing. Scream. That's like a woman screaming. That's wicked when you do it as a chord. Punch. Let's go backwards, quite a number of them. This one's called Nylon, I guess electric piano, it's just EP. Pitch bender as well, which is kind of cool. That takes a lot of practice to learn how to do it right. There's different songs too that are in here that you can play along with. So there's quite a number of those as well. And a groove creator. So a lot of fun stuff. And there's many more things. Vox lead. Okay. That shouldn't have kicked in. When in doubt, shut off, restart. And that resets the keyboard. So even your transpose, if you forgot to turn off transpose or whatever, and it's like, this doesn't sound right, well, just go back in your transpose and zero it, or if you didn't quite remember that moment, then just shut it off and back on. It resets the transpose to zero every time anyways. So anyway, so this thing does not come, by the way, with a sustain pedal, although I have one on it because I have one. But it does come with a music rest, the keyboard, power supply, of course your manual, which, you know, is fairly thick, goes through everything. Now, if you don't own this already, of course, obviously, you can download the entire manual for it for free from Yamaha's website. Just look up the model number of this keyboard, and you can find out everything about this thing and all the ins and outs and nitty-gritties, because that would take hours and hours and hours of videos to do that. So to save all that, it would be much simpler to just download the manual and read it, and then decide from there. But at least you're getting a bit of a sample here. Now with this compared to the 400, I'm not sure, but this thing actually feels a little bit bigger. I don't, entirely recall physical dimensions. I would have to look them up to see and then compare. But it does feel like this one's a slight bit bigger, maybe a little tiny thicker. But it does have a lot more output, a lot more low end to it. And it definitely has more output. It is 12 watts a channel, so it is higher wattage output. And it's just as clean, like even at full blast. You know, like, and it's also touch response keys, so you can play light, but loud, right? Because we're full blast. But you can also nail it, you know? So, and it stays clean. It doesn't distort or break up. I don't know why you'd want it quite that loud, but I kind of like the dial set around 230 position. Now it does have dual line outs for stereo left and right line outs. So you can go either stereo out to a console, you can go stereo out to 2 powered PA speakers, which will really increase the quality reproduction of the sound, which is like really nice, especially with the right powered PA speakers. So you can go direct into them or 2 keyboard amps. You can also go left mono out or stereo to a PA mixer. So you could even use this actually for live performances, you know, and it would work. So yes, in a professional situation you could do this, or maybe you know, instead of buying one of those, you know, $7,000 pianos for your church, which is absolutely unnecessary, you could actually buy one of these, hook it into the PA in your church, and you know, 76 keys is a lot of keys. It's only a couple keys short of 88, so you're out by about an octave less. But how many piano players, even in church, are playing from this end to this end? You know, not very many, I'm sure. Okay, so you know, but you can change the octave, right? So if you want to alter the octave to get you that 88 key response with less keys, you could actually do that, okay? Which would allow you to play those alternate positions and still getting all of the fullness and advantages of a full-size piano without being 100% full size. So we're basically at about 90% here, right, out of full size. Having the onboard track recording system is nice. You also have a USB port, so you can save your files and play them back through the USB. You have auxiliary in, so you can hook up your iPod or your MP3 device, your phone, your tablet, what have you. Jam along with your favorite tunes, right? And you can control how much output comes from the speakers from your device, even via the console pad here. When you go into the function menu, you can select the auxiliary input allowance. Right now it's set at 50%. So you could get things quite loud as is, but if you need more so you can jam along better, because maybe you don't have enough, you can actually change that and get it more than loud enough to balance out your mix enough that you can play along, right? Now this also has another USB port on it as well, which will allow you to go direct connection to a computer, so you could run all the sounds from this into your favorite DAW, or you can use this as just a MIDI interface as well. Now when you do that, of course, you get nothing accessible here other than, you know, your volume control and your power switch. Everything else has gone MIDI, and that's controlled from your program. So a program, like in my case, I'm a Mac user, so I use Logic. So I fire up and I want to add a track in that's MIDI, right? And so I say, okay, well, I'll select MIDI. So then it knows that I have a keyboard attached that's capable of MIDI, and it allows me then to have access to all of those MIDI voices, whether they're drum kits or guitars or pianos, whatever. Other sound effects, synthesizers that normally would cost you $100,000, $10,000, $50,000 machines, all built into a MIDI file system, and you only had to spend $600. That's a good way to do things. So you don't have a modulation control though, not for $600, but you do have pitch bender, which is quite fun. So yeah, you can do that and just switch on the fly even between tracks. So do one MIDI track and then do your next track. I want to use the sound effects from the piano, right? So you go and you do your next track as an instrument track, and then it takes it off the MIDI line put you in an instrument track, so then you would be using all of this accessible to you that way. Okay, so that actually works quite well. So it's like having it is literally a MIDI keyboard and a full blown out of everything else all in one package kind of thing. And that's the one thing I love about these type of keyboards that can do that. Now, I don't have, I rented this, okay? I've been getting into MIDI devices, so I do have an 88 key M-Audio MIDI keyboard. I've got other MIDI keyboards and MIDI pad machines, so I've been kind of going a little MIDI happy lately. And for me, I mean, I really enjoy the MIDI side, but there are parts of me sometimes that be like, well, I don't have the rain, I don't have the thunder, I don't have the stream. And a couple of my other favorite voices that I love that are in this thing, I don't have them accessible through my DAW. But I haven't bothered to research sound files online to see if I could get those MIDI files and add them into Logic. I haven't done that yet. But if I can get them, well then, for me, I would never need anything like this that could do that. But some people would, and that's perfectly fine. So the sound quality is great. The majority of your sounds in this thing are very, very realistic sounding. If you go one-touch grand piano, so this is a portable grand, which would be a different size than a regular grand piano, but the sound is fantastic. And I love the touch response as well. Now, these are not weighted keys. You're not getting weighted keys for $600. Okay, so, but they do have enough resistance that it feels good, and they come back up rather quickly, and even just a little touch, and they activate. So they activate very quickly with movement, which is nice. So they do have a lot of sensitivity to them. That's very, very good. Yeah, so you do have, like I said, the sustain input. It doesn't come with a sustain pedal though. I have my own pedal here that I'm using for the sustain. So no sustain and sustain. Okay. I mean, you can buy a sustain pedal for like $15, $18, $25, however much you want to spend. Kind of it's up to you on that one of what kind of style or quality range you're going after for a sustain pedal. You can build one too pretty cheap. So, overall, I would definitely give this thing, wow. Well, it's worth the $600, I'll say that. I have no issues with the price. I think you're getting a lot for your money. No, you'll have to buy the stand separate as well. You get a keyboard, you get the power supply, you get the music stand for it, obviously. Do watch the amount of weight you put on these plastic stands, by the way. They can take a fair amount, but don't push your luck too far, because you can actually break them, and it's about $12. Well, a couple of years ago I broke one of mine, and it cost me $12. So prices may have gone up since then, I don't know, but it's still gonna likely be under $20 either way. So but they are very resilient music stands. They are plastic. They just pop right into a couple sockets. It is fairly thick and durable, so no worries about that. It is quality, so it's not cheap built, But the other advantage too, this thing runs on batteries. So if you want to take this to the beach and have a pile of fun and maybe impress a bunch of people, or whatever, you can do that. And no, it does not have a microphone input. That's one thing it does not have, so you can't sing and play through the speakers. So you'll have to figure out something else different about that, like one of those portable bad rapper PA amps that I've been doing for, what's the name of that company? Windbridge. Check out their portable PAs that go on your hip or across your shoulder, and they'll amplify your vocals out with the piano really well. And hey, one-man band on the beach, and everything's battery too on top of that, right? So rechargeable battery in the headset, and pop your batteries into the keyboard, and you're good for a whole day of fun. So that's another big advantage. And it's not all that heavy either. You know, I mean, pretty much anybody should be able to carry this under their arm within reason of anybody. You know, like teenagers, no problem. Shouldn't have any problem at all. So it's not massively heavy. It's just shy of 4 feet wide. You know, so that's fine. So it doesn't take up a lot of real estate in the room. My 88 keyboard is like, you know, much longer, so it takes up a little bit more length, although it is much narrower because it's just a MIDI device. But I would say I put this probably at about a 4.5 out of 5. Now, who's it suitable for, though? That's a big question, right? Definitely beginners. A beginner would adore this thing, right? A little more expensive than your general beginner grade pianos for half the amount of money, but if you have the intentions of wanting to play with a lot of synth sounds, now you can still do that with Yamaha for half the money, but you also get a lot less keys too, and less keys means less octaves, so you'd be at 61 keys. 76 I find is extremely comfortable. 88 of course is always perfect, right? Because then you've got them all. But even the last one, I think it was an E373 I think I did last time. It's a fairly recent model. This one's been out on the market since late 2018, so it's only been on the market for a couple of years. It's still a current selling device. As far as the 400 goes, though, you might want to look around for a used one, because I don't think you're going to find any brand new ones anymore unless it's old stock in somebody's store. But you probably find some used EW400s around. And these things, they last for years. I've had Yamaha keyboards. They're on my channel, a lot of them. And some of them were like ancient, right? And I pick them up for a song and a dance and type of thing, and they still sounded great. They had really nice sound to them. But you know, back in their time period, they were the top of the line beginner grade, right? This is more beginner intermediate level, but also very good for professionals that want to, well, if you're in certain situations and you are a professional piano player, but you don't want to haul around that gear because it's really not necessary, you can haul this with you and jam out with it. No problem, do your thing. But of course, you know, if you're jamming with other people, you're probably going to want to be plugged into a PA, or like I said, stick a couple of powered PA speakers on it and you'll be ready to set to rock and roll with thousands of watts of power. Okay, so yes, that's where I would put it. So a beginner person, it'll last them right on through up. I mean, one day everything breaks and dies and you replace it, right? So these things, though, they do last for years. That's the thing. They're very reliable instruments from Yamaha. I have no qualms with Yamaha products, and I've never really, myself personally, I've never had issues, other than I did buy a used one once that had some issues, and I took it apart. Wasn't that difficult, cleaned everything up, put it all back together, worked 100%, no issues. Just had a bunch of dirt and crud in it from over the years, and you know, so it interfered with a couple of buttons, but I cleaned it all up while I was in there. But anyways, yeah, that's about where we're at. So if you want to know more about this keyboard, do download the manual. It is a free download, so you do not have to buy it to get access to the download for the manual. So that's a bonus right there. And you can find out even more so, because I mean, this thing has like harmony arpeggio, it's got dual voice, it's got keyboard splitting, DSP types, you've got your tap tempo, your metronome, your record functions, audio record standby, you've got quick sampling as well, many other features, including a melody suppressor, which I don't believe they had that in the 400. Because that's something that's new to me, as well as this record standby. So they have changed a couple of things other than more powerful speakers, bigger sound, and basically a lot more wattage output, because this thing can get pretty loud, which is really nice. Catch you on the next one, guys. Thanks for watching. See ya.